Welcome back to the Mindcrack. We're still caving on the Mindcrack server, getting a decent amount of iron to make some iron golems for the village. Hopefully to preserve the lives of my villagers, although I think it will not forestall the coming apocalypse. Okay, so we're continuing. Let me swing back here, direction I just came. I saw some lapis here, so let's pick this up. I suppose I should probably be silk touching that and then fortuning it later, because you end up with a lot of it. It's easy to fill up your inventory quickly. Okay, so I did a little bit off camera. I have a little bit over 4 stacks of iron now, half a stack of gold, a little bit of redstone, a little bit of lapis, and a potato and a pear tree. Anything I want to drop? No, I don't think so. And I have my safety deposit box right here in case I fill up my inventory and I want to drop something in there. Okay, so where was I? I was telling a story. We were talking about the adventures, the ballad, so to speak. It's not an actual ballad, but the story of Thorbert Magicfizzle, the dwarven sorcerer who I've been role-playing with some friends. And he's not really a sorcerer, he is a barbarian, but he thinks he's casting spells because he's insane. Oh, diamonds, yes. Tell you, I'm gonna silk touch these. Ooh, 3. I'm gonna silk touch those and fortune them later. I guess I'll fortune these because I've already started fortuning redstone and lapis. But from here on out, I'm gonna silk touch anything I can, which I guess is just those 2, because I'm not really here for coal. I suppose I should be picking up coal with the amount of stone I've been. Oh my God! With the amount of stone I've been smelting. So anyway, okay. So last episode, I explained the backstory and the premise of the character of Thorbert Magicfizzle. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you missed that episode, go watch it. It should be the last. It should be the previous episode in this playlist, the Mindcrack playlist. So, Thorbert's backstory ended with his father faking his own death in a grisly manner, and Thorbert striking out to seek adventure and revenge and to find out details of what happened to his daddy, who was actually an evil elf mage, but who he thinks is a dwarf because he's been brainwashed his whole life. Okay, so at this point, I run into the other adventurers in this campaign setting, and I came into this, I wouldn't say halfway through, but partway through the, they had already been role-playing some characters for at least a few months before I came in, meeting maybe twice. Oh, there's diamonds back there. That looks like tin, but it's gold. We are not on Feed the Beast. Let's go back for these diamonds. They had already been role-playing for a few months. Where are those diamonds? And so I sort of, I ran into them, quote unquote. And so Thorbert, before running into them, had sort of run into a group of barbarians, just some human barbarians, who were wandering through the countryside, just, doing whatever barbarians like to do. And they sort of took Thorbert under their wing because they recognized him as being similar to them. Even though he thinks he's a sorcerer, he's actually a lot closer to them. They saw this dwarf wandering around in chainmail and swinging around an axe, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's like us. Let's be friends." But really, he thinks he's casting spells and wearing a wizard's robe, but he ain't. I just hit level 15. All right. So he's adventuring around with them, and he happens to run into the group of adventurers who the other guys in the group are role-playing. There's a dwarf named Lode, who is a very traditional dwarf who likes to worship his god by drinking ale in the in the bar after each adventure, which is a very dwarfy thing to do. And he's a very traditional, very solid, stolid type of dwarf. And of course, he immediately takes, well, we'll get into that in a minute. Let me just introduce who they are. There's load. My inventory is full. I don't want all this. What should I get rid of? I don't need the bones. I'm going to have a lot of those from when I go to farm some gunpowder at one of the mob farms on the server. I'm going to get a lot of that, but I will keep the gunpowder. I'm going to farm a lot of arrows as well. I don't need the potato, and I don't need quite all this stone. There. Okay, so there's Load, a traditional dwarf. He's a dwarf fighter. He's very solid. He carries around a huge shield. He's sort of the tank of the group, quote unquote. See any diamonds around up in these parts? His favorite tactic is to run up to an enemy and to trip them. And this sort of gets more into the rules of how characters interact in combat. But he likes to run up to them and trip them. And then while they're trying to get up, he gets attacks of opportunity. So while they're trying to get up, he can attack them. Then he trips them again. And then attacks them again. And it doesn't do a lot of damage, but can really take a lot of damage. Has a ton of hit points. And then there's... what's the other guy's name? Roslyn of the Forest, who is... he's a gnome druid? I think he's a gnome druid. Who pretends to be friendly and... Nice to meet you, Roslyn. I'm Roslyn of the Forest. And he holds out his hand, and he rides around on a boar, who is kind of like his familiar or his companion. And he controls, and as a druid, he can summon animals like, he can summon dire bats, these gigantic bats, which are actually kind of overpowered. Did I ever get those diamonds? Yeah, I think I did. He can summon dire bats and do entangling root, cause roots to come up and trap people. And then there's a halfling who's a ranger, so think Legolas, basically, a guy, sort of a warrior type with a bow. But this halfling ranger, he's terrible. He's always rolling ones when he on a die 20, which means that he not only does he miss when you roll a 1, you slip, and if you roll a 1 twice in a row, your bow breaks. That's how bad of a ranger he is. And then there's a cleric, and I guess the mission they're on is they're after. I actually forget. It's been a little while since we met to play. But the cleric is on some sort of mission for his god. And the other characters have all been sort of drawn up in his quest, kind of the same way I'm about to be. And there's this sort of evil witch lady or necromancer or something. All we know is she's evil, and we're trying to get to her. Oh, hi, spider. We're trying to get to her and find out where she came from or who her master is or something, something like that. Typical stuff like that. Typical hijinks. And I think at that point, those were all the characters. We ran into a few characters after that, other people that joined halfway through. And just as a little point of trivia, Load, the dwarven fighter, he is roleplayed by Nimrod from Life on Pagoda, and the halfling ranger, he's roleplayed by Dog Doc from Life on Pagoda. So it's basically a Life on Pagoda role-playing adventure. With a few other people. So anyway, I think what happens is they're traveling, trying to track this lady, this sorceress or I'll call her a necromancer because I think that's what she may be. They're trying to track her, and they run into a wyvern for some reason. I don't remember why, but it was a while ago. They run into a wyvern, and I think at the time the barbarians I'm with are already fighting the wyvern. Something screwy's going on, or we run into... No, okay, I remember. It's a little scatterbrain, but this is what happened. Because it did happen a while ago. We were traveling, I think we ran into them, the role-playing, the people actually playing the game were camped out, quote-unquote. And I, along with the barbarian... Look at that lighting glitch. The barbarians I was traveling with sort of... saw their campfire or whatever and asked to share their campfire or whatever, and so they said okay grudgingly. So we start talking to each other, and of course, automatically I start talking to the dwarf like I'm a proper dwarf, even though I'm not. And then Rosalind walks forward and says, "Hello, I am Rosalind of the forest," and holds out his hand. And I shake it, and I notice that he's got a boar, which is his familiar. It's kind of like his best friend. And I immediately think, because I think this is what a dwarf should do, we should cook that boar. I bet it would be delicious, or something like that. Immediately making a lifelong enemy of Rosalind of the Forest, and this will be important later. Keep in mind, this is another person that that we're playing with, who is role playing Rosalind, and I've just angered him. But we're supposed to be on the same side, and we kind of are. But automatically, there's this tension between me and Rosalind. He's always constantly trying to thwart me from that point forward because I wanted to eat his boar, and I thought it would be tasty. Okay, we're gonna fortune that guy. So a wyvern like somehow crash lands, or maybe it sees our campfire and it tries to attack us. Maybe because it's hungry. I don't know why. Why does a wyvern do what it do? But a wyvern, who is like a small dragon, if you don't know what that is. A wyvern attacks us, and so we end up getting in a fight. And the barbarians I was traveling with end up dying in the fight. And so I become sort of, by default, I have nowhere else to go. I'm like, hey, well, I guess I'll go with you. I'm looking for clues to what happened to my dad, who disappeared. And there's a lot of blood all over my house. But I'm... Whoa, oh gosh, I almost walked off of that. I meant to do that. So I end up traveling with them. They're like, okay, you can come, I guess. Even though I think Rosalind, right from the beginning, was like, I don't think this guy should come. I don't like him. So I end up traveling with them, and we end up killing the wyvern. So we're fighting the wyvern, and it's doing all kinds of damage, and hitting us with its claws, and batting us with its wings, and trying to bite us and stuff, and we're all taking damage. And I go into a barbarian frenzy. Although, what I think I'm doing is channeling the arcane Thurgies within myself. I think I'm like... It's like I'm going Super Saiyan, basically. Well, where the hell is you? I think I'm going Super Saiyan, more or less. And I'd say, lightning bolts! I think I'm casting this really powerful spell, but what I'm really doing is throwing my axe at this little dragon. And lo and behold, I roll a really high number... And I do enough damage to kill the thing. I threw my axe at the wyvern and killed it. And so what's the first thing I decided to do? Let's cook it and eat it! I bet it's delicious. So this is what is that a cave spider? Ooh. Because this is what I think dwarves do as a... Ooh, they're right up there. I'm gonna go get down in a second. Get out of here. This is what the behavior I think is appropriate for a dwarf, because I've been brainwashed my whole life as to what is and isn't dwarfy. Still get these whoa! Oh yeah, you're right here. Oh yeah, you didn't get me. Suck it. No, not there. There. Oh, and I don't have a bow. I keep trying to shoot things in certain situations. Get out of here. It's alright. Suck it. Suck it! Oh, what was that? Oh, you're behind me now. Okay. Let's get up in here and take out the rest of the spiders. So we sort of had this bonding moment, but simultaneously there's tension because the druid doesn't really like me, and the dwarf warrior... Whoa, gosh! The dwarf warrior... kind of doesn't like me at first, but decides to take me under his wing because he sort of realizes there's something not quite right with this fella. And he tries to teach me proper dwarfy ways. And so we cook up this wyvern, and by the way, wyvern meat is toxic. So if you try to eat it, you're going to get poisoned. The other dwarf and I, we're dwarvish. We have extremely high constitution. I think we both have a constitution score of 20, which is out of... all the characters have attributes out of potential out of 18 points. But certain races, like dwarves, have bonuses. Dwarves have a +2 bonus to Constitution. So not only do we have max Constitution, which would be 18. We got a Constitution of 20, and we eat the barbecued wyvern and think it's delicious and have like a little stomach ache. But hey, it's worth it because it was barbecue was worth that kind of discomfort. There's lapis down there. I want it. But I think we have another spawner around here somewhere. You gonna shoot me? I don't have a bow. That's fine. I'll try and circle back. Okay, so from there we travel kind of northward. The direction isn't really important, but we travel a ways, and we're tracking this lady. The cleric is sort of, you know, every once in a while he'll pray to his deity or whatever, and the deity will tell him, go this way, or, you know, sometimes we have more concrete evidence. But we track her to this cave. We end up getting into a series of fights against some orcs and a few other nasty things that the ladies sent at us. And every time we get into a fight, of course, I'm like, my character is like, grrr, shocking grasp, you know, but really he's swinging around his axe like a maniac without even realizing it, and just knocking off heads left and right. A proper dwarven berserker. And we get to this cave, we fight this lady, or we sort of get close to her, and I think we did some damage to her or something, and she ends up teleporting out, or she disappears, and we lose track of her. I forget exactly what happened, because this was a while ago, and we've only been meeting maybe once a month for a while, and you know, each of these little encounters, we don't get that much done because there's a lot of joking that goes on anytime we get together. Oh, this is what I wanted, this lapis. So this all happened a while ago, so I'm trying to remember what happened, basically. Oh, I was gonna silk touch that, damn it. And you know what, I'm just gonna silk touch everything from here on out, and let us consult the safety deposit box. Let's just dump some stuff in there. We got 5 stacks of iron. I'll go ahead and put this in there. 6 stacks of iron. Okay. And I don't need all these ender pearls. Let's put that in there. Let's put that in there. Okay. Okay, let us continue. So somehow we end up tracking her and find out after this fight where we sort of, we fought through the minions she summoned, and she disappeared at the last second. We end up tracking her and realize she's gone into the Underdark, which is, how do I describe it? You remember in The Lord of the Rings when they go to the Mines of Moria, and there's just a bunch of tunnels and caverns and stuff underground, a lot of monsters and nastiness. It's kind of like that. Where it's all underground, there's a lot of monsters, a lot of nastiness, and surface dwellers are not welcome. The sort of the dominant race down there, or one of the dominant races, are the Dark Elves. How did I get in here? Did I take a turn here? Yeah. The dominant race, one of the dominant races, are the Dark Elves, which are called the Drow, and are assholes, and have very powerful magic, very powerful stealth, very powerful magic items, and are not to be trifled with. You know, keep in mind, if you ever played Dungeons & Dragons, we're like, at this point, we're all like level 5 or 6, and we're heading into the Underdark, which is serious business. Now, we're in the Upper Underdark, which is like the not-so-serious Underdark, but still the serious Underdark, the nasty Underdark. Just not the nasty Underdark. I don't know, whatever. But we're heading down here tracking this lady, and let's see. We end up like fighting an Ankheg, I think. Did we fight an Ankheg? Which is like a giant segmented cockroach worm thing. We end up tracking her to basically a night elf city. I forget what the name of the city is. It's not Menzoberranzan, which is the, I guess, the capital. Is this where I wanted? I think we may have gone back around. Did I? Yeah, okay, this is the ravine. This is where I wanted to head back here. But let's turn around and get all this gold here. So it's a night elf city. It's one of the sort of smaller ones. It's not Menzoberranzan. Menzoberranzan is the capital. I think it's the capital of the Drow underworld. If you ever played Baldur's Gate 2, you end up in the Underdark. There's also a really old role-playing game called Menzoberranzan, but we're not there. But we are like in the presence of nastiness, and so we head into this dark elf city. And we start asking questions like, hey, do you know about this old lady? You know, or whatever. And I'm sort of just a voiceless companion on this. I'm not really involved in the overall plot to find this lady. I don't really care. I'm looking for clues for, you know, what happened with my dad, and I don't have any other really leads, so I'm just sort of end up following these guys around. I get sort of roped into their adventure. Oh, and my torches. I have more. So we go into this city, and there are a few factions of dark elves who control the city. One of them is kind of like, and again, this is all paraphrasing. I may get some of this wrong, but one of them is like the, you know what? I'm gonna fortune all of the redstone. There. One of them is like the nobles of the place, and then one of them is like the. Oh God! Crap out of. Okay, let's go get them jerks. You coming from there? Where'd you come from? Oh, way up there. Did you dive bomb me from way up there? I'm gonna come get you. I'm gonna come get you. This is not super hostile. There's no custom spawners in here. There's no 30 mob spawners in one tiny little area. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. I'm gonna stop to harvest minerals while you're threatening me. Don't care. Anyway, so I think we end up going into this tavern. And in this tavern is a dude sitting in the corner wearing a robe, and we can't really see what's going on with him. Only that he has sort of bony hands. And so we're in the tavern. Okay, so my guy, he lacks subtlety of any kind. They're definitely above me right now. Let's go take them. Oh my God. Yeah, whatever. Suck it. Oh, come on. Get him. Okay, that's him. I think that's most of them. So my guy lacks subtlety, which is sort of part of the instincts or the behaviors that my stepfather, the evil elf bastard, bred into me. Or not bred into me, but instilled in me. Get him! Okay, there's 2 spawners. I should probably eat some food. And there's still some around, so we should be careful. I really don't want to have to backtrack all the way over here. Just in case I have to. There's my coordinates. Yeah, my guy has no concept of subtlety or decorum or of personal danger. Because remember, he thinks that he can just solve any problem with the immense amount of like magical energies at his disposal. Oh gosh. 3 spawners right in a row? I mean, there's so many experience farms on the server that finding 3 cave spider spawners next to each other isn't really important anymore, but that is kind of noteworthy. It doesn't happen that often. So when we get to this tavern, my guy bangs the door. Like, so we are foreigners in a very... What the heck hit me now? What the hell? What the hell? Let me log out, see if there's a glitched mob. No, just a glitchy game. So, when we come into this tavern, of course, I have no subtlety, so I bang open the door, make a huge noise. We are strangers in a strange land. We're weaklings comparative to everything else in the area. Nobody here likes us. They all look at us like They want to kill us because that's probably what they want to do. And we get into this tavern, and of course I use too much force and bang open the door, make a huge noise, and make some comment about asking for ale or something, and everybody in the tavern just stops everything they're doing and slowly turns to look at me with malice and evil in their heart. So already I've gotten us into trouble, and this is kind of the kind of things I've been doing the whole time. Who's shooting me? Oh, well, look at them. Look at those guys. And so we come up to the... we had gotten in a fight on the way here, and so me and Load need to worship, which means drink ale at the tavern. So me and Load need to go do some worshiping, and so we come up to the bar and get some drinks. And a gnoll, which is like... A gnoll is like a really tall humanoid figure with hyena features. They're kind of like a hyena person. And for someone my level at that time, a hyena would be, or not a hyena, but a gnoll would be very dangerous to fight. They're pretty nasty, at least for the relative strength of our characters at this point. And so it like tells me it doesn't like it doesn't like the ruckus I'm making, and it's a drinking establishment, and that I don't belong, and then I should leave. And of course, what do? I threaten this gnoll and tell him, let him know who he's dealing with, and that, you know, I'm gonna, okay, here we go. I'm gonna unleash the arcane fury of the Tempest or whatever on him if he doesn't leave us alone. And he gets right up in my face, this gigantic gnoll. I'm like 4'3" or 4'2", and this guy is probably about 8 feet tall and has a huge halberd or whatever he had. Gets right up in my face. What do? I headbutt him with all my strength. I headbutt him. What I think I'm doing is casting a spell on him, like Shocking Grasp or Burning Hands or Color Spray or something. But I headbutt him, and he disintegrates right in front of me. He disintegrates right in front of me. I'm like, yep, see? I turn to the other people in the bar, and like, this is what happens. This is what happens. And so the guy sitting in the corner, the skeletal guy wearing a robe, kind of reaches out his hand and like does his finger and does like the come hither thing with his finger, like come here, talk to me. And of course what happened is this guy disintegrated the gnoll because he wanted to talk to us. I didn't do any of it, but I think I did. And that's the important part. That's the important part. My bluster is always backed up by luck, fortuitous circumstances of some manner or other. I'm kind of like Gru. If you know who Gru the Adventurer is, the comic book character, Gru himself was sort of a joke on sort of Conan the Barbarian style adventurers. He was a bad swordsman that through his own clumsiness usually ended up defeating all his enemies and whatnot. Kind of similar. So anyway, this guy tells us that he's got information for us. He's a dealer in information, a broker, if you will. And he'll give us information if we do something for him. And of course, I almost get us annihilated on the spot by taunting him or asking him who he thinks he is or whatever. But we finally agree to do what he says, which is to go. He needs some special mushrooms or something for a potion he wants to make or something like that. And so we have to leave the town, take a boat, and go to this mushroom area, retrieve the mushrooms, come back, and he'll tell us what we need to know. Yeah, what's happening? He's manipulating us. We don't really know that, but he's manipulating us to sort of pull some strings and set some things in motion in the city. But the only important part is we got to go get these mushrooms. So we go and take a boat, and we almost get murdered again when I taunt a drow, a dark elf, who we hire a boat from. We take the boat across, and we have a series of fights against these mushroom men. What are they called? Myceni? Something like that? The mushroom men in Dark Souls are probably at least partially based on them. We have some fights there. Similar things happen. You know, I'm like shooting lightning bolts and shocking grasp, and the arcane fury within me is just burning bright like a torch. I've gone Super Saiyan, but really I'm just flinging my battle axe, aka magic wand, around. We end up getting back and nearly get murdered by a bunch of drow, of course. We're always in more trouble than we think, than we're aware of. We're sort of stumbling through this area. And we only live because this guy wants to use us to sort of do some larger, more important work in the city. Otherwise, we would have been just murdered straight off the bat if this Crypt Keeper guy hadn't been basically saving us behind the scenes. We get that stuff, we come back, and long story short, let's see what happens next. We end up going to some like abandoned mine. I think we end up getting roped into doing more, like one more adventure. We go to a mine, we have a bunch of fights there, we get some like good loot. But the important part is we end up eventually doing enough to get the information he says he'll give us. I want to go over there. Let's just do that. Lapis. And did I say, yeah, I started silk touching this. Oh, seriously? Oh yeah, there we go. Alright. And he tells us that in the center of the city is, again, we're in the Underdark, so it's a giant cavern. I don't think I need that string or that or that or that or that. And I just picked up some coal, don't need that. We're in the Underdark, so it's a giant cavern, and this city is in the center of a giant cavern in the middle of a subterranean lake, and in the center of the city is a big stalagmite formation, sort of meeting in the center of the island in the middle of this lake underground, if you have that picture in your head. And so the stalagmite, whatever, is a tower with that is controlled by the dominant faction in the city. And basically the Crypt Keeper guy wants us to break into it. Or he tells us that what we're looking for is in there. And we end up, there's a series of traps and things we go through. Let's see. No, wait, I'm skipping something. There's gold over there. Let me get this iron up here. Okay, before that okay, I skipped something. I'm forgetting things. I should have written out more of this beforehand. I only wrote out part of it so I'd remember. Before we ended up there, I mentioned we went to an abandoned mine, and we are going after treasure, and we end up fighting that lady again, like the necromancer lady. And man, that was a nasty fight. I hate when that happens. Those phantom blocks. We ended up fighting that necromancer lady again. I think it was in that abandoned mine area thing. And she ends up like summoning this golem against us and all these creatures and things. And she summons a wall of blades, which is exactly what you think it is. It's a wall of blades. I want to go over there, shut that off, then go back down and get this redstone. She summons a wall of blades, which is basically divides the room in two. Suck it. Suck it. Ooh, look at that spawner under there. Divides the room in two. And so what do? I'm like, lightning bolt! I'm not going to be stopped by a wall of spinning blades. I'm going to shoot a lightning blade through the blades, because the blades aren't going to stop a lightning bolt. What I'm really doing is I throw my axe through the wall of blades, and So there's a when you throw or perform an action through a barrier, there's like there's a penalty check on your roll. So I roll a d20, and I have like a -4 on my roll. But I roll high enough that my axe goes through the wall of blades and hit this chick in the face. This necromancer lady hits her right in the face. Does some damage, really pisses her off. So she retreats through the next room over. And so what do I do next? Guess what I do next? I'm like, the arcane torrent within myself will protect me. And so I run and leap through the wall of blades. Keep in mind, I'm just a normal dwarf barbarian. I have no magical potential whatsoever. I leap through the wall of blades, and against all odds, I roll the right numbers on my die 20, and I make it through the wall of blades, taking only a tiny amount of damage, and run after her. I'm like, yeah, the arcane torrent within me is furious, or whatever. Man, my character, I'm constantly rolling good numbers like that and just making stupid things happen. So we chase after her, and let's see what happens. We kill her? Do we kill her? I think we end up killing her. Here's the actual ocean here. Let's close it up. Oh gosh, sand. That's good. That's gonna make it even worse. We end up killing her. Whoosh. And I think as soon as we do, or right before that happens, this alarm starts ringing in this area. This oh, this is what it was. It was the like the royal house. One of the controlling drow factions is where we were. That's right. It's one of the controlling drow factions of the drow city we're in. Suck it. There's still more of them around here somewhere. Around here. Yeah, the guy sent us to raid the house of the ruling party. That's what it was. Because he's trying to play the factions against each other, and we don't really know this, but that's what's happening. He's trying to set up one faction to go to war with the other, so the third faction, which he's a member of, can take control or something like that. So we're in the royal house of these guys, trying to raid them or something. And we kill this chick who we've been chasing, the necromancer lady. And an alarm starts sounding, which basically means that a bunch of drow have realized we're in their house, and they're going to show up and murder us. And we're going to be in way over our heads. So we decide to run. And we start running, and a bunch of drow start chasing us. And these are like, basically, they're so badass we can't even see them. They're more or less invisible, and they're running along the walls. They're like nightmares, basically. And I think what happens is I turn to hold them off. I turn to fight, because I realize we're not going to be able to outrun them. And we all start fighting in this hallway as we're trying to escape. We've got a wizard who's joined us, a mage at this point, an actual mage who can cast actual spells, who starts like shooting actual spells down the hall towards them. And our druid summons some dire bats, which are always handy and stupidly overpowered. And we start, the ranger starts shooting arrows, and Load, the warrior, basically plants his shield and plants his shoulder and like says, "Come get some." And I start spinning around in a circle like a maniac, swinging my axe around. But they just keep coming, and they're very dangerous. And we maybe like take out one or two of them, but they keep coming, and they're doing a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the cleric is in the back, doing what a cleric does. And if you ever played with a Dungeons & Dragons, you know what the cleric is doing. He's in the back. He's in the back of the group, casting spells on himself, becoming badass as he does like a strength of will, and like all these spells basically that buff him up, make him physically larger and stronger, and channel the strength of his deity. And he shows up in the nick of time to, save us most of the time. But this time, it's not enough. And basically, we decide to turn and run. except that there's some spellcaster in the back of this group that we're fighting. And he casts some spell that stuns me and stuns the mage. So basically we're stuck there and we get swarmed. And I'm like on the ground, knocked out. I think it was some sort of poison, some kind of drought poisoning crap. I'm knocked out on the ground, as is the mage. The ones doing the most damage, the two guys doing the most damage, are now out of commission. The other guys decide to run and leave us there. I recover because I have, remember, high constitution. I recover and get up and do like my special attack and like do a ton of damage to this mage, basically enough to piss him off because he's a high level drow mage. And basically he casts some sort of paralyze spell on me or something and freezes me in place. The wizard in our group is also paralyzed. So we're both stuck there. Everybody else runs out of the hall and through the door. And as we're leaving, Rosalind of the Forest, the guy who I've never gotten along, the character, you know, I get along with the person who plays him fine, but the character Rosalind has never gotten along with Thorbert at all. They've never seen eye to eye, particularly because Thorbert wants to eat his boar. But Rosalind turns around as they're closing the door and does the finger across the neck thing, like you're done for, and we're leaving you here. Like he's like taunting me as I'm standing there paralyzed and helpless, and they escape. And that's the last time we played. What's in store for Thorbert Magicfizzle? I don't know. Will he survive? Is he... Oh, there's gold right there. And there's something burning over there. Will he survive, or is this the end for Thorbert Magicfizzle? Will he rise to triumph again, or will he actually ever cast a real spell? I'm not sure. So the thing is, I think at this point, at the point where I got captured, and as far as I know, I'm dead until we play again, and maybe something else will happen. Who knows? I was level 7. A level 7 barbarian. And at level 8, I plan to dual class into sorcery. So Thorbert, if he ever actually, if his story continues, he will cast a spell one day. And there's going to come a day when he's swinging his axe around and a lightning bolt may just come out of it. That would be amazing if that ever happens. But that is the Ballad of Thorbert Magicfizzle as it stands today. Yeah, it takes a long time for those things to happen when you're only meeting like once every other week or once a month. And you end up joking a lot and stuff, and not much of the story progresses in any one game session. But it is a lot of fun. But that's that, and I guess we're done caving. I'm going to continue caving, and I guess in the next video I'll show you how much stuff I got. But let's go ahead and put up what I have now. I already have a pretty decent amount. Almost 9 stacks of iron, is that right? Some lapis. Some redstone. 4 thingies of redstone. Alright. And I'll continue caving off camera, and I'll show you just how much I ended up with next time. So, hope you enjoyed the video. See you later. Take it easy. Have a good day. Bye-bye.